Hello, welcome to our next video on multiplication and division with decimals. Before we begin calculating, I just want to draw your attention to the chart in the upper right. This is the same chart we used with multiplication and division of integers, and it is used to determine what sign to put on your answer. Let's take a look at number one. In number one, we have positive 4.5 times positive 2.8. Well, positive times a positive is going to be a positive. From here, my recommendation for multiplying decimals would be to actually ignore the decimal point, at least initially. So if we treat this problem as 45 times 28, we can get the numbers in the right order. So for example, we're going to multiply this the same way we multiplied integers in the last video. We're going to do 5 times 8, and that's going to give me 40. Then we're going to cross multiply and add up. So we have 5 times 2 is 10, 8 times 4 is 32, 32 plus 10 is 42. And lastly, I'm going to multiply the left side. 4 times 2 is 8. Then in order to write the final answer, I just have to add the numbers to their superscripts. So I have 0, 4 plus 2 is 6, and 8 plus 4 is 12. Now that I have the correct numbers in the correct order, all I have to do is determine where the decimal point goes. I look back to the original problem and see I have one decimal place here and one decimal place here. That means I need a total of 2 decimal places from the right to get the correct answer. I go over 2 and I can see that the final answer is 12.60. Let's try another one. In this problem, we have 12.9 times negative 3.7. Well, I know a negative times a positive is going to be a negative. Now I'm going to treat this problem like 129 times 37. So I have 12, 9, 3, 7. I start by doing 9 times 7. That's going to be 63. I cross multiply and I add up. So 7 times 12 is going to be 7 times 10, 70, and 7 times 2, 14. So 70 and 14 is 84. I have to add 84 to 9 times 3. Well, 9 times 3 is 27. So 84 plus 20 is 104. 104 plus 7 is 111. I put the 1 and the 11 carries over. Lastly, I'm going to do 12 times 3. Well, 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 2 is 6, so that's 36. And I just have to add up the numbers and their superscripts in order to get the answer. So I'm left with 3, 7, and 36 plus 10 is 46, plus 1 is 47. Now that I have the numbers, the correct numbers in the correct order, I just look back at my problem. I see I have 1 decimal point here, 1 decimal point here. I go over 2, and my final answer is 47.73. Let's try one more multiplication problem. In this problem, I have negative 3.65 times negative 2.4. So first things first, a negative times a negative is a positive. Next, I'm going to treat this problem like 365 times 24. So I have 36 and 5. And 2 and 4. I'm going to start with 5 times 4, and I get 20, 0 with 2. Next, I'm going to cross multiply and add them up. So I have 5 times 2, that's 10. And then I have 4 times 36. So 4 times 30 is 120. 4 times 6 is 24. So 120 plus 24 is 144. And then 144 plus 10 is going to be 154. So I put the 4 and the 15 gets carried over. Lastly, I do 36 times 2. So 2 times 3 is 60. And then 2 times 6 is 12. 60 plus 12 is 72. So now in order to write the answer, I would just add the numbers to their superscripts. So I have 0, 4 plus 2 is 6, and 72 plus 15. So 72 plus 10 is 82. 82 plus 5 is going to be 87. Now I look back to the original problem. I have 1 decimal point here, and I have 2 decimal places here. That's a total of 3 decimal places. So I go over 3 from the right, and I'm left with 8.760 or 8.76. Let's take a look at a division problem. So in this problem, I have 5,432 divided by 32. And the reason why I picked this problem was because 32 does not go into this number evenly. I wanted to show you what happens, what that looks like. So the first thing, we're going to do the division like we did with the integers, where we find a common multiplier. So I am going to raise the 32 by 8, and that's going to give me 5,432 divided by 4. And if you don't remember, the 4 comes from the 40, 32 plus 8. That's where we get the 4. Now that I have an easier division problem, what I can do is I can start to divide. So just a reminder, we have a positive divided by a positive. That's going to be a positive answer. 5 divided by 4 goes in 1 time. 5 minus 4 is 1. I'm left with 14. Now, if you don't remember, we have to multiply by the former answer by the multiplier. So 8 times positive 1 is plus 8. So we're going to add 8 to 14, and we get 22. 4 into 22 is going to go 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. We're left with 23. So I have 23. And we're going to add 8 times 5 plus 40. 4 plus 2 is 6, so 63. How many times does 4 go into 63? Well, 4 goes into 6 1 time with the remainder of 2. 4 into 23 goes 5. So I'm going to have 15. So I write the 5 and the 1 gets carried over. 4 times 15 is 60. 63 minus 60 is going to give me a 3 remainder. So I'm left with 32. And then 8 times 15. So 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 5 is 40. That's going to leave me with 120. 12 plus 3 is 15. So 152 is my new divisor. But just a reminder, we are on the last number. And when we go to the last number, we have to return to 32. So I'm not going to pretend like 152 divided by 32 is an easy way to go. In fact, I'm going to have to write it out myself. So we have 32. We have 3 and 3 is 6, D4. Plus 3 is 96. Plus 3 is 128. And then finally we have plus 3 is 150, plus 10, 160. So it looks like 152 is going to go in 4 times. So what I do is I write the 4 there, and I have to subtract 128 from 152. So 15 minus 12 is 32. 32 minus 8 is going to be minus 2 minus 6, so it's going to be 24. So this is what happens when it doesn't go in evenly. I get a remainder. Remember, when it went in evenly with the integers, this last number came out to be 0 or a multiple of 32 in our case, right? Well, 24 is not a multiple of 32. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what 24 over 32 is to get the decimal part of our answer. Well, 24 over 32, I could divide by 2 and I get 12 over 16. And then 12 over 16 are both divisible by 4, so that'd be 3 over 4. And when you get it down to 3 over 4, you can either know that it's 0.75, right? Or if you don't remember, we can always do a little bit of division. So I will do it maybe in this corner over here. So down here, we can do 4 into 3. So 4 into 3 doesn't go. So we have to do 4 into 30. That's going to go in 7 times. 28, 2, bringing down the 0. 4 into 20 goes 5 times. So it becomes 0.75. And that's going to become the decimal part. And then from here, all I have to do is add the numbers to their superscripts, and I get the final answer of 0.75, 961. So this is my final answer. And I realize that dividing with decimals can be tricky. So the more you practice it, the better off you be. Let's try another example. So here I have 961.45 divided by negative 4.1. So first things first, I want to fix this problem so I'm dividing by a whole number. And to do that, I just simply move the number of spots in order to get a whole number. But I have to move the same number of spots up here. So in other words, 9,614 divided by 41 is the same problem. So I can actually rewrite this to be 9614.5 divided by 41 negative, and I get the same answer. So a positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative. I'm going to use a multiplier of -1 to turn this into dividing by 4. So 4 goes into 9 twice. 9 minus 8 is 1. I'm left with 16. So here I have 16. And then we have a multiplier of -1. 2 times -1 is -2. So 16 minus 2 is 14. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 14 minus 12 is going to be 2. So I'm left with 21. 3 times -1 is -3. So it's going to give me 18. 4 into 18 is going to go 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. 18 minus 16 is 2. Going to leave me with 24. And then 4 times -1 is -4. So that's going to leave me with 20. 4 into 20 goes 5 times. And 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is nothing. So is 0. So I'm left with just 5. And remember, we're on the last number now, so we have to switch back to 41. But when I multiply, though, I get 5 times -1. That's going to be -5, which means I get 0. So we left out 0 divided by 41 is going to be 0. So now I have all the numbers, the correct numbers, and in the right order. I just have to figure out where the decimal place goes. And one way to do this, so if I were to just get a general idea, I could always do 960 divided by 4, right? Because 4.1 is close to 4, and 961 is close to 960. And if I were to just do this quick, 4 into 9 goes 2, 16, and then a 0. It looks like it's going to be 3 decimal places, which means my final answer here is going to be -234.5. Let's try one last example here with division. In this example, we are doing negative 6.8016 divided by negative 1.04. So again, first things first is we're going to fix the divisor here. And we are left with negative 680.16 divided by negative 104. So here, I know that my answer, a negative divided by a negative, is going to be a positive. I'm going to use a multiplier of minus 4. And I'm left with 680.16 divided by 10. So 10 goes into 68 6 times. 68 minus 60 is going to leave me with a remainder of 8. So I'm left with 80 here. And I have to use my multiplier. So negative 4 times 6 is going to be 24, negative 24. And 8 minus 2 is 6. 60 minus 4 is 56. 10 into 56 goes 5 times, with 6 left over. So I have 61 minus 5 times negative 4 minus 20. And that's going to leave me with 6 minus 2, or 41. I know that 10 goes into 41 4 times. With a remainder of 1, so that's going to be 16. And then I have to subtract, and I'm on my last number, so we're going to return to 104 at this point. But 16 minus 4 times 4 is going to be 16 minus 16, which is 0. So I have no remainder. And now I just have to figure out where to put the decimal point. Again, if I do a test here, 6.8 is close to 7. 1.04 is close to 1. I have 1 decimal point. That's where I'm going to put my decimal point, 6.54. And that is indeed the correct answer. That was today's last question. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask your math teacher, or you could always send us an email. Thanks.